This story comes to us from Michelle, who lives in Colorado. I'm the principal at a K-12 school. We're located in a very small town about 40 miles from any other. The school was built in the 1960s, and the entire high school portion has been shut down and condemned. All classrooms and offices have a phone line directly to my office. I can see which room is calling when a light illuminates its corresponding label. One late night, around 1 a.m., I was working in my office, trying to finish putting together an anti-bullying presentation that my teachers would eventually go on to show their students. Out of nowhere, my office phone rang, which startled me, and for a few seconds I just stared at the display. A little white light was lit next to the label HS Infirmary, meaning the call was being placed from within the building, the high school's lower-level admin area, the abandoned area. I had assumed, like every other night, I was the only one in the building. Maintenance personnel stopped by my office each night to tell me every door and window was shut and locked and they were going home. And despite their reluctance to do so, they always checked the abandoned high school too, their hesitation stemming from the fact that it's cold, dark, and dead quiet, all perfect conditions for the heebie-jeebies. I picked up the receiver and greeted the caller. There was static on the line, along with distant clicks and terrible pops that sounded like light bulbs breaking under someone's boot. Then a single tired breath came through, an exhale. The line went dead and I hung up the phone. For the next 30 seconds, I sat at my desk with really no idea what to do next. The phone rang again and I didn't hesitate to answer the call. I heard the same clicks and pops, this time a little more distant, faded. I wondered if this could be a prank, or if someone down there needed help. I often think back to this moment and wonder why on earth I didn't call the police. I obviously wasn't thinking clearly. My mind was racing. At that time, despite being rattled, it didn't seem right to call until I knew what was happening. Despite the possibility of potential danger, I figured I'll just head on down there as if I was under some spell that made me bolder than usual. It's something that bothers me to this day, and I suspect it always will. I picked up my flashlight and my 2013 Wildcats victory baseball bat that I had displayed above my trophy case. It was signed by all my students who had won the tournament that season, and feeling like somehow all those healthy young athletes were there with me in spirit, I made my way through the darkened halls of the building. When I entered the high school, I found it lit by only exit signs and emergency lights, quite a bit darker than the working portion of the school. It was quiet, seeming almost otherworldly. The last time I'd been down here, approximately 6 months ago, the gym coach had needed access to the high school's equipment closet. The place felt uneasy then. It felt downright unwelcoming and wrong now. My light lit each empty classroom, and as I passed their open doorways, I peered into the darkness within, raising the bat each time, prepping for some intruder to rush me. But none came. I descended the stairs to the lower level, where a broken elevator, forever stalled due to a lack of juice, stood next to an eerie, pitch-black kitchen. For 1 or 2 seconds, just beyond the line of stoves, a pair of burning red eyes cut through the dark. The phantom amber eyes vanished as quickly as they had appeared. I passed through the old cafeteria and something shifted in me, something sour and rotten that brought on a bout of dread. Cold chills and dizzy smells swept me. My mouth salivated and my throat tensed up. I was queasy. It was the stomach flu. I was sure of it. Had I known I was a ticking time bomb, I'd have gone home hours ago. I approached a set of restrooms and upon passing, caught a glimpse of just how dark they were inside, like a creepy cave or a black abyss. My light guided me to the back stall. I closed it up and took a seat, then unleashed the darkest celebration of my life. The second I heard footsteps walk into the restroom, I clicked off the light. They approached the stall next to mine, went inside, locked the door, and then it was quiet. It was so quiet, in fact, I could plainly hear even my most shallow of breaths. A shrill whisper cut through the tension.
I bet you have a pretty scream.
I clicked on the light, looked down, and lost my breath. I saw a terrifying face peering at me from the gap under the stall wall. Its eyes were glossed gray. Its skin was sickly pale. And for it to be in such a position, with its head near its feet, I knew its body was badly contorted. I lost my grip on the flashlight and it hit the floor. It went out. I heard an immediate shuffle, then felt sour breath on my face. This thing couldn't have been more than 2 inches from the tip of my nose. My feet patted the floor, searching for the flashlight. When I finally made contact with it, my shoe must have jolted the housing, which reestablished the connection and kicked the light back on. I was alone. As I made my way out into the hall, the hand dryer within the restroom revved up like a male voice rising to a holler, then kicked on full blast. I wanted to run, but this flu had weakened me. I needed an escape, and I knew the nearest exit was up ahead, just past the admin. Sluggishly and dying for a drink of water, I made my way to the old freshman hall, which was lined with empty lockers, each of their doors hanging open, as if all the students grabbed their belongings and fled. Halfway down this hall was the massive Morgan Smith Library. I was glad to see its doors were chained shut. I peeked in the library windows to find a dreary scene of rummaged shelves, toppled books, and outdated computers. An Abe Lincoln bust peered back at me from across the room. The freshman hallway teed right and left. I took a right, and just as I did, I froze in my tracks. The administration offices. There were no vandals, no broken glass, fires, or floods. There was no mess of any kind. Despite the surrounding windows, the place was morbidly dark. The only light illuminating from a glass display and an orange exit sign that hung above the main entrance doors. Metal security gates had the admin and offices buttoned up. The electronic voice of a weather radio, curiously and creepily, droned on from somewhere beneath the admin's shadows. Right on cue and nearly giving me a heart attack, the admin's hall phone rang. This one was a payphone, and before this moment, I had never heard it ring before. With my stomach still queasy, I slowly walked to it, keeping an eye on the long stretch of eerie hallway beyond the security gates. Reluctantly, I answered the call.
Hello?
I said, this time not posing it as a question. There was a long line of choppy static. Then I heard my voice come back to me, almost as a distant echo.
Hello?
With my heart now pounding in my esophagus and a vicious chill down my spine, my face and hands went cold, as if all the blood keeping them warm suddenly drained. My signed baseball bat flew down the hall toward me. In my haste, I must have left it in the restroom. It collided with a trophy case behind me and shattered glass rained down. The large light within the case exploded in sparks as electricity shot from the socket, popping in bursts and bolts. I'm not sure how I got my legs moving, or if I even hung up the phone, but I fled to the exit doors and broke out into the night. I fought the door's pressured hinge and got it to latch quickly. I stumbled away from the entrance, backpedaling toward the lot's asphalt. I turned to rush away, but a burst of heavy, frantic finger taps on the entry door's inner glass froze my body in place. I didn't turn around to see who or what was there. I forced my legs to move and I fled to my car. I pulled the magnetized spare key from within my wheel well and climbed into my vehicle. I then called emergency services. I don't stay late at the school anymore. When the day's done and maintenance shows up to inform me the building's secure, I leave with them. And if I ever go down to the high school area again, it'll be because nothing short of God or the devil dragged me there, surely kicking and screaming the entire way. Recognized, but still fringe Otacon.